Hey guys, tonight you probably won't survive this. You smile faintly at that thought as you lie still, because your body already senses the cold before your mind catches up. The air presses against your skin, sharp and dry, creeping under imaginary doors, slipping along your spine. And just like that, it's the year 20,000 BCE, and you wake up in a world where winter does not politely knock. It arrives early, stays late, and does not care if you are ready. You open your eyes slowly. Firelight flickers against stone walls, shadows breathing in and out like living things. Smoke curls lazily upward, carrying the thick scent of charred wood, animal fat, and dried herbs, maybe rosemary, maybe something wild and bitter that only grows near frozen streams. You hear the wind first. It rattles the shelter walls, hums through gaps, whistles low and patient, as if it knows it will outlast you. You shift your weight. Beneath you, there is no mattress, only layered hides, straw, and woven plant fibers pressed flat by generations of restless sleepers. The textures register one by one. Rough fur against your calf, scratchy linen near your wrist, cold stone beneath everything, reminding you that warmth must be earned, not assumed. Take a slow breath with me. Notice how the smoke smells comforting instead of alarming. That's already survival at work. Somewhere nearby, embers pop softly. A dull orange glow pulses as if the fire itself is breathing. You extend your hands toward it, palms open, feeling heat pool in your fingers. Not luxury heat, working heat. The kind that keeps blood moving and joints flexible. The kind that makes the difference between waking up tomorrow and not waking up at all. Outside, an animal shifts. You hear the low grunt of something large and calm, maybe a goat, maybe a shaggy early cow, maybe just a thick-coated dog curling tighter against the wind. Animals stay close in winter. Not for companionship, though that happens too, but because shared warmth creates a microclimate. You understand this instinctively. You scoot closer to the fire. You pull another layer over your shoulders. Linen first, then wool, then fur. Each layer traps air. Each layer is a small act of intelligence. Your stomach tightens. This is where winter becomes serious. You are not thinking about recipes. You are not thinking about cravings. You are thinking about calories, fat, warmth, and time. Food is not entertainment here. Food is insulation you eat. Before we go any further, and before you get too comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. No pressure. And if you feel like it, tell me where you're listening from and what time it is there. Winter sounds different everywhere. Now, dim the lights, at least in your imagination, and let the fire do most of the work. You sit up slowly, joints stiff from cold. You reach for a wooden bowl nearby. Your fingers brush its rim, worn smooth by years of use. Inside, there's something thick and dark. Stew, maybe, or rendered fat mixed with bits of dried meat and crushed roots. It doesn't look impressive. It smells powerful, rich, slightly metallic, nourishing. You taste it. The flavor spreads slowly across your tongue, smoky, salty, deep. Fat coats your mouth, clinging, lingering, refusing to vanish quickly. This is not an accident. Fat slows digestion. Fat keeps hunger away longer. Fat keeps you warm when the sun disappears for weeks at a time. You swallow, and you can almost feel the heat travel downward. settling behind your ribs. Notice that sensation. That's survival food doing its job. You glance toward the shelter entrance. A rough hanging, maybe woven reeds, maybe stitched hides move slightly as the wind presses against it. Beyond that thin barrier is a frozen landscape. Snow crusted hard enough to cut skin. Plants asleep or dead. Rivers locked under ice. You do not wander out there without a reason. And when you do, you plan every step. Winter food begins months before winter arrives. You know this now. You remember hands stained purple from berries, fingers cracked from digging roots out of stubborn soil, the frantic energy of autumn when the air smells sweet and dangerous at the same time. Every nut matters. Every strip of meat matters. Every mistake gets remembered when the temperature drops. You reach down and touch the ground beside you. Stone, cold, unforgiving, but warmed in patches where hot stones have been placed earlier. You imagine lifting one carefully with thick cloth, sliding it beneath bedding to release heat slowly through the night. You imagine benches warmed the same way. Simple technology, brilliant results. Someone nearby shifts in their sleep. You hear a soft exhale. Community matters here. You eat together. You store together. You survive together. Hoarding food in winter is not clever, it's deadly. One injury, one illness, one failed hunt, and isolation becomes a sentence. You listen to the quiet sounds again. Wind, fire, breath. Somewhere, water drips steadily, counting time more patiently than any clock. Your mind starts to slow, adjusting to the rhythm of this place. You think about what cavemen eat to survive freezing winters, and you realize something quietly profound. They eat planning. They eat patience. They eat knowledge passed hand to hand, generation to generation. They eat animals nose to tail because waste is cold. They eat marrow cracked from frozen bones. They eat nuts stored in baskets hung from rafters away from moisture and rodents. They eat dried berries that taste like memory. They eat fish pulled from black water beneath ice, thanking the river with ritual gestures that feel half practical, half spiritual. And they drink warmth, broths, melted snow heated carefully so it doesn't steal heat from the body. Herbal infusions that smell faintly of mint or pine, easing digestion, calming nerves, helping sleep come easier in the dark. You take another slow breath. Imagine adjusting each layer on your body, tugging fur closer to your neck. Notice the warmth pooling around your hands again. Feel the stone floor beneath your feet. Solid and honest. This is not a story about suffering. It's a story about adaptation, about quiet intelligence, about the human ability to look at a frozen world and say, calmly, all right, then we'll do this differently. The fire crackles once more, a soft punctuation mark. You settle back down, bowl empty now, stomach steady, body reassured. Outside, winter waits. Inside, you are learning how people have always met it. Slowly, thoughtfully, together. You feel it before you fully understand it. The quiet pressure of hunger shaping your thoughts. Not the sharp panic of starvation, but the steady awareness that food determines everything now. Your movements, your patience, your relationships. Hunger becomes a teacher in winter, and you listen carefully. The fire has settled into a low, steady glow. Embers pulse like slow heartbeats, releasing warmth in waves that reach your shins, then retreat. You scoot closer, the fur beneath you whispering softly as it shifts. The smell of smoke clings to your hair and clothes, earthy and familiar, threading itself into memory. This scent means safety. It means last night's fire did not fail. You rest your hands on your stomach. It's not full, but it's calm. That matters. In a freezing world, hunger that screams is dangerous. Hunger that murmurs can be managed. You begin to notice how winter changes the way people think. There is no casual eating here, no distracted snacking. Every bite carries intention. Food is discussed quietly, sometimes humorously, sometimes with reverence. You catch fragments of low conversation, soft voices near the fire debating whether a certain cache of nuts should be opened now or saved for later. Laughter flickers briefly. Humor keeps fear from freezing solid. You inhale slowly. The air smells faintly of dried meat hanging near the roof beams, mingled with herbs tucked into cracks in the stone lavender for calm, rosemary for memory, pine needles for a sharp, clean edge that cuts through smoke. These smells aren't decorative. They are functional. They lift mood. They sharpen focus. They help people sleep. Winter hunger does something else, too. It pulls people together. You notice how close everyone sits, knees almost touching, shoulders brushing. Not awkward efficient. Bodies radiate heat. Conversations overlap. Children are fed first. Elders carefully. There's a rhythm to it, practiced and unspoken. You feel yourself leaning into it, drawn by warmth and shared purpose. Food here isn't just nourishment, it's social glue. You imagine the months leading up to this moment. Autumn was frantic. You remember fingers stained dark from berries, the sound of nuts rattling into woven baskets, the heavy satisfaction of hauling back an animal before the first deep frost. Every successful harvest carried relief and a shadow. Winter always watches from a distance, counting days. Now it's here, and hunger has changed shape. You reach for a small bundle beside you, wrapped in cloth. Inside, there are crushed nuts mixed with rendered fat, pressed into a dense, slightly glossy mass. You break off a piece. It yields slowly, resisting just enough to remind you how much effort went into making it. You chew. The texture is gritty, then smooth, nutty bitterness followed by a rich, almost buttery warmth. This is not exciting food. This is reliable food, the kind that burns slowly, steadily, keeping your body warm long after the fire dims. Notice how it feels as you swallow. Not a spike, a spread. That's intentional. Winter diets are designed around endurance. Carbohydrates are scarce. Fresh plants are sleeping under snow. So fat becomes king. Fat carries more than twice the energy of protein or carbohydrates, and your body knows exactly what to do with it when the temperature drops. You feel it now, a subtle loosening in your shoulders, a softening in your jaw. Calories translate into calm. Hunger eases its grip, loosening enough for thought to wander. And wandering thoughts matter. In winter, ideas keep you alive. You think about routes animals might take. You remember which trees still hold edible bark beneath the snow. You recall which streams freeze shallow enough to fish safely. Memory becomes nourishment too. Someone near the fire tells a story half whispered, half sung about a winter long ago when the snow came early and stayed too long. The tale isn't dramatic. No monsters, no heroes, just people adjusting, eating less, sharing more, surviving anyway. You feel the truth of it settle in your chest. Hunger shapes culture. It shapes tools. 2. You glance at stone implements nearby, edges smoothed by years of use, bone needles, scrapers, simple, efficient designs refined by winter necessity. When food is limited, tools must be reliable. No wasted motion, no wasted energy. You shift your feet closer to the fire. Heat licks your toes through thick layers of hide and wool. You wiggle them slightly, encouraging circulation. Small movements matter. Staying warm is an active process, even at rest. Outside, the wind rises briefly, rattling the shelter walls. Snow slides softly from somewhere above. You imagine the landscape beyond white. Silent. Paused. Life narrowed to essentials. And in that narrowing, clarity emerges. You notice how eating becomes slower, chewing longer, talking less while mouths are full. Respect woven into every motion. Food is not rushed here. Rushing burns energy. Calm conserves it. You take another bite of the nut-fat mixture, smaller this time. You let it dissolve gradually, tasting the faint smokiness from the fire it was prepared over months ago. This bite connects past effort to present survival, a direct line through time. You feel grateful not in a dramatic way, but in a grounded, practical way. Gratitude here isn't emotional overflow, it's attention. It's noticing what works and remembering it. Winter hunger also teaches restraint. You see it in the way bowls are scraped clean, but not refilled automatically. In the way people pause, assess, decide. Eating just enough becomes a skill. Overeating makes you sluggish. Undereating makes you weak. Balance is warmth. You lean back slightly, supported by rolled hides. Your spine relaxes as heat radiates into your lower back. Somewhere, an animal sighs a long, contented breath. The sound is oddly soothing. Shared warmth again. Shared survival. Take a slow breath with me now. Feel it expand your chest. Feel it leave, unhurried. You realize something subtle but powerful. Winter hunger doesn't just shape what people eat. It shapes who they become. They become planners, sharers, observers. They become storytellers because stories carry knowledge when written language doesn't exist yet. They become patient because impatience wastes energy and gets people killed. You sense this knowledge settling into you, not as facts, but as instincts. Your body understands before your mind finishes the thought. The fire crackles softly, releasing a brief spark. Light dances across stone, fur, skin. The moment feels complete, contained. Hunger is quiet now, not gone, but manageable. You pull your layers closer, tucking edges carefully to seal in warmth. You notice how each small action feels meaningful, intentional, satisfying. Outside, winter continues its long work. Inside, you adapt. And for tonight, that is enough. You drift gently into memory now, carried there by warmth and the low murmur of the fire. Hunger no longer presses so tightly, and that makes space for remembering. Winter survival always begins somewhere else, back when the air was softer, the ground generous, and the days still smelled faintly of green. You picture autumn. You are standing in it, fully inside it. The light is slanted and golden, stretching shadows across the ground. Leaves crunch underfoot, dry and brittle, whispering with every step. The air smells sweet and sharp at the same time, ripe fruit, damp earth, wood smoke just beginning to feel necessary. You inhale deeply, and your lungs feel clear, alert. This is the season of urgency disguised as abundance. You feel it in your body, the quiet pressure to move faster. Hands are always busy now. You reach into thorny bushes, fingers stained dark with berry juice, purple, red, almost black. Some berries burst too easily, sticky and fragrant. Others resist, clinging stubbornly to their stems. You take them all. Perfect ones, misshapen ones. Nothing is wasted. Winter does not reward pickiness. Notice the way your fingers ache slightly from the cold mornings. That ache is a reminder, a calendar written in bone and skin. Around you, others work too. Low voices call out discoveries. A heavy branch shakes as nuts rain down into waiting baskets. The sound is deeply satisfying. Hard shells knocking together like quiet applause. Acorns, hazelnuts, pine nuts. You gather them obsessively, knowing they will outlast almost everything else if stored properly. You kneel to the ground, brushing aside leaves to expose soil. It smells rich, alive. With a digging stick, you pry up roots thick, knotted tubers that snap free with a soft, resistant sound. Your hands grow dirty, nails packed with earth. You don't mind. This dirt means carbohydrates. It means energy when snow covers everything else. Autumn work is physical, constant, almost meditative. Your muscles learn the rhythm. Bend, pull, cut, carry. The weight of gathered food presses into your shoulders, and instead of resenting it, you welcome it. This weight is future warmth. You glance toward the sky. Clouds drift lazily now, but you know what comes next. Frost, then silence, then the long, white patience of winter. So you hurry calmly, but without delay. Animals are hunted carefully in this season, chosen with intention. You remember the tension of those moments, the quiet before the chase, the coordination, the relief when effort becomes success. There is no celebration without responsibility. An animal taken now must feed many mouths later. You smell blood, metallic and warm, mixing with leaf mold and smoke. It's not unpleasant. It's real. It reminds you that life feeds life, especially when the world grows cold. Processing begins immediately. Meat is cut into long strips, fingers working quickly before cold stiffens everything. Fat is separated and saved reverently. Bones are cracked later for marrow or stored whole for winter use. Nothing is casual. Everything has a future purpose. You feel the fatigue in your arms as you hang meat high, away from animals, where air can circulate freely. The breeze is cool now, perfect for drying. Nature cooperates for the moment. Smoke plays its role too. You sit near low fires, feeding them slowly, guiding smoke over flesh and fish. It curls around your hair, seeps into your clothes, settles into memory. This smell will follow you through winter, clinging to every meal. It becomes the scent of safety. Take a moment to notice that smell now. Smoky, slightly sweet. It means Preparation worked. Autumn nights grow colder quickly. You wrap yourself tighter, but you stay out late, working by firelight. Shadows jump wildly against trees and rock faces. Sparks rise and vanish into the dark. You sip warm liquid, maybe water heated with herbs, maybe thin broth, and feel it chase the chill from your chest. Storage becomes an obsession. You line pits with stones and straw. You hang baskets from rafters. You tuck dried berries into skin bags, sealing them carefully. You test lids. You count. You recount. Anxiety hums beneath everything, but it's a useful anxiety. It sharpens attention. You remember the taste of acorns after leaching bitter gone, replaced by something mild and filling. You grind them slowly, rhythmically, the sound of stone on stone steady and hypnotic. Flour accumulates. Not much. Enough. You remember laughter too. Autumn has its joys. Someone makes a joke about stealing extra berries. Someone else pretends not to notice. There's music sometimes, simple rhythms tapped out on wood or bone. These moments matter. Morale is a resource, just like food. As days shorten, you feel urgency tighten. Frost dusts the ground some mornings, glittering briefly before vanishing. You test stored foods again. You adjust coverings. You move caches closer to shelter. And then, almost without ceremony, autumn ends. Snow falls softly at first, tentative. You stand watching it settle on leaves not yet fallen, bending branches gently. The world quiets. Work slows. But the preparation echoes forward. Back in the present, by the winter fire, you feel the weight of those memories. They live in your muscles, in the calm way you now approach food. You reach out and touch a hanging strip of dried meat. It's firm, cool, reassuringly solid. Months ago, this was a living animal. Weeks ago, it was labor. Now, it is survival made tangible. You pull off a small piece, chew slowly. It's tough, smoky, deeply flavored, not indulgent, satisfying. Autumn lives in this bite. Notice how that feels. The past nourishing the present. Effort turned into warmth. The fire pops softly. Someone shifts closer. An animal snuffles contentedly nearby. Outside, winter holds firm. But inside, you are insulated by foresight. You settle deeper into your layers, grateful for hands that worked when the sun was higher and the ground was softer. Winter survival does not begin in winter. You know that now, not as a lesson, but as a lived truth. And as the memories fade back into the crackle of the fire, you feel steady, prepared, warm enough. For tonight, that preparation is still working. You feel it in your bones before you consciously name it. Meat means life here, not metaphorically, literally. In freezing winters, meat is not a preference, it is a strategy. The firelight flickers low and steady, illuminating what hangs above it. Dark strips of dried flesh sway slightly in the rising warmth, casting thin, wavering shadows on the stone walls. You follow those shadows with your eyes, calm and focused, as if reading a familiar map. Each strip represents a hunt, a plan executed well, a future meal already promised. You shift closer to the fire and feel the heat bloom gently against your knees. The fur beneath you compresses and sighs. You rest your hands on your thighs, palms open, feeling the subtle vibration of warmth traveling upward. Outside, the cold waits patiently. Inside, protein and fat are quietly doing their work. You reach for a piece of meat. It resists your fingers, slightly dry, tough, leathery. This is not soft food. This is food that survives time. You tear off a small strip with your teeth. The sound is faint but satisfying. You chew slowly, deliberately. Salty, smoky, dense. Your jaw works harder than it would in a warm season, and that effort itself generates heat. Notice that. Eating warms you twice, once through calories, once through motion. Meat in winter is chosen carefully. Lean meat has its place, but it does not rule here. You crave fat instinctively. Your body knows what it needs before your mind catches up. Fat burns slow and steady, releasing warmth long after the fire dies down. It cushions organs. It protects nerves. It keeps hunger from gnawing too sharply in the night. You remember learning this not through instruction, but through experience. A winter where lean meat ran out too early. The way cold felt sharper then. The way fatigue settled deeper. Knowledge earned the hard way does not fade. You glance toward a stone slab near the fire where bones rest thick, heavy, pale against the dark floor. These are not scraps. These are resources waiting patiently. Later, someone will crack them open with practiced precision, releasing marrow rich and glossy, almost luminous in firelight. Marrow is winter gold. You imagine the sound, the clean, sharp crack, the smell warm, faintly sweet, the taste silky, comforting, deeply nourishing. It coats the mouth and slides easily down the throat, a reminder that survival sometimes hides inside the hardest things. You take another bite of dried meat, smaller this time. You chew until it softens, saliva coaxing flavor from stubborn fibers. This is slow food by necessity. You cannot rush it, and in that slowness, your breathing evens out. Take a slow breath with me now. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Let your jaw relax between bites. Meat also brings structure to the day. You notice how meals are planned around it, not large portions, measured ones. A strip here, a ladle of broth there, enough to fuel movement, thinking, patience. Overeating would dull you. Undereating would weaken you. Balance is survival refined. You remember the hunt itself, not with excitement, but with respect. Winter hunts are fewer, riskier. Ice betrays weight. Snow hides terrain. Animals are leaner now, more alert. A failed hunt costs more energy than it gives back. That's why stored meat matters so much. That's why autumn preparation echoes through these months. You touch the stone floor again, grounding yourself. It's cold, but not shocking. Your shelter has learned how to hold warmth. Stones placed strategically absorb heat during the day, release it slowly at night. Even meat benefits from this knowledge stored where it won't freeze solid, won't spoil, won't attract unwanted attention. You glance toward the shelter entrance. The hanging shifts gently. Wind sighs beyond it, testing seams, probing for weakness. You feel insulated, not just by walls, but by calories already working inside you. Someone nearby pours broth into a wooden cup. Steam rises immediately, carrying the scent of meat simmered with herbs. You accept the cup, wrapping both hands around it. The wood is warm, smoothed by years of use. You bring it closer, inhaling deeply. The smell is grounding, savory, Slightly mineral, comfort without indulgence. You sip slowly. The liquid slides down your throat, warmth spreading outward like a quiet promise. This broth comes from bones that once held muscles that once moved through snow. Nothing wasted. Everything transformed. Notice how your shoulders drop slightly. That's nourishment reaching your nervous system. Meat in winter is not about dominance or conquest. It's about respect for the animal, for the effort, for the timing. You feel that respect in the way people handle food here. No tossing, no careless gestures. Every piece is acknowledged. There's humor, too. Someone jokes about a particularly tough strip, chewing theatrically until others smile. Laughter warms the air briefly, then settles. Even humor conserves energy. It releases tension without costing much. You lean back against a stack of hides, feeling their layered textures. Each hide represents another animal, another moment of success carefully preserved. You adjust one over your legs, sealing in warmth. Small adjustments like this happen constantly. Winter living is a series of tiny decisions that add up. Outside, a sound carries faintly a distant howl. Maybe. You pause, listening. Predators hunt too. Hunger shapes them as it shapes you. The difference is planning. You planned months ago. You take one last bite of meat and let it linger. You don't rush to swallow. You taste the smoke again, the salt, the faint memory of autumn air. This is not just fuel. It's continuity. You wipe your hands on a cloth, careful not to waste even crumbs. Grease remains on your fingers. You rub it into dry skin, an unconscious act. Fat protects externally too. Even this is survival knowledge passed down quietly. You settle back into stillness. Firelight softens. Shadows stretch and shrink. The shelter breathes gently around you. Meat means life because it carries stored sunlight energy gathered slowly through plants, through animals, now passed to you when the world offers nothing else. You feel that transfer happening now, cell by cell. Your body understands. Your breathing slows. Your mind grows calm. Winter remains outside, vast and indifferent. Inside, you are fed, warm enough, aware, prepared. And for tonight, meat has done exactly what it was meant to do. You don't crave meat alone now. What your body asks for, quietly but insistently, is fat. You feel it as a subtle pull, a preference that rises from somewhere deeper than taste. In freezing winters, fat becomes more than nourishment. It becomes insulation you carry inside yourself. The firelight reveals it clearly. Near the edge of the shelter, a shallow stone bowl holds rendered fat pale, glossy, almost luminous in the low glow. It has cooled into a soft, scoopable texture, smooth where it was stirred carefully hours ago. You move toward it slowly, mindful of every step, conserving warmth. As you crouch, the stone floor radiates faint heat into your feet. You notice it, appreciate it. Hot stones were placed here earlier, their warmth lingering like a memory. You reach for a small wooden spoon and dip it gently into the fat. It yields easily. You lift the spoon, watching the surface ripple once, then settle. The smell is subtle clean, rich, faintly animal. No rot, no sharpness. This fat was prepared with care. You bring it to your mouth and taste. It melts almost immediately. There's no resistance, no chewing, just a smooth coating that spreads across your tongue and down your throat. Warmth follows quickly, blooming outward from your core. You swallow slowly, letting your body register what's happening. Notice that sensation. That quiet warmth isn't imagined. That's fuel being accepted. Fat behaves differently than other foods. You don't feel full in the usual sense. Instead, you feel steady, grounded. The anxious edge of hunger dulls, replaced by something calmer, heavier, more secure. Fat slows digestion. It stretches time between meals. It keeps your blood sugar from swinging wildly in a world where stability is rare. You take another small spoonful, not out of greed, but intention. Too much would weigh you down. Too little would leave you cold before morning. Precision matters. Nearby, someone stirs a pot suspended over the fire. Fat glistens on the surface of simmering broth, catching light with every gentle movement. This is no accident. Fat carries flavor. Yes, but more importantly, it carries energy efficiently. It transforms thin liquids into sustaining warmth. You wrap your hands around your midsection briefly, feeling heat radiate outward. Your breath deepens without effort. Muscles loosen. Even your jaw unclenches. Take a slow breath with me now. Inhale warmth. Exhale tension. Fat teaches patience. You remember learning this lesson over winters past. Times when protein was plentiful, but fat scarce. The way cold seemed sharper then, more penetrating. The way sleep came harder. Your body learned quickly which foods mattered most when the sun disappeared early and returned late. You glance at the hanging meats again, noticing which pieces still hold visible marbling. Those are prized, saved carefully, used strategically. Lean cuts are stretched with fat, never eaten alone if it can be helped. Fat also becomes currency of care. You see it when someone adds an extra spoonful to a child's bowl. When elders receive richer portions, their bodies less able to generate heat on their own. This is unspoken kindness, delivered through calories. You adjust the fur around your shoulders, sealing in the warmth now spreading through you. Fat works best when heat stays close. You tuck edges carefully, creating your own small microclimate. The shelter itself functions the same way: layers, barriers, trapped air. Outside, the wind rises briefly, testing walls, rattling loose fibers. You listen without fear. You are buffered now, inside and out. You notice how fat changes the rhythm of the night. Conversations slow. Movements become deliberate but unhurried. There's no frantic search for more food once fat has been eaten. Panic dissolves into planning. Someone near the fire rubs a bit of rendered fat onto cracked hands, massaging it in carefully. Skin softens. Small fissures seal. Fat protects externally too, a barrier against drying wind and cold. Survival knowledge expresses itself in quiet gestures like this. You touch your own hands, feeling where skin has grown rough. You rub a trace of grease into your knuckles. The smell faint but reassuring. This is practical, not indulgent. Winter doesn't allow indulgence, but it rewards care. Fat also carries memory. You taste hints of the animal's life, the grasses it ate, the season it lived through. In warmer times, these nuances might be overlooked. In winter, you notice everything. Attention sharpens when resources are finite. You sit back down near the fire, the stone warm beneath you. Heat rises slowly, steadily, meeting the warmth already spreading through your core. You feel balanced now, not sleepy yet, alert without anxiety. You think about how early humans learned this truth without charts, without measurements, trial and error, observation. Stories told beside fires just like this one. Someone noticed they slept better after eating marrow. Someone noticed children stopped shivering after fat-rich meals. Knowledge accumulated quietly, stored in behavior rather than books. You listen as an elder murmurs a story half instruction, half memory about a winter when fat ran low too early. The lesson is woven gently into narrative, not scolding, not dramatic. Just a reminder: prepare well, share wisely, respect the seasons. You nod slightly, even if no one is watching. Fat demands respect too. It spoils if mishandled. It attracts animals if stored carelessly. You recall the care taken during rendering low heat, constant attention, removing impurities. A slow, meditative process that smells faintly sweet and savory at the same time. You imagine the fat cooling, solidifying, waiting patiently, months of potential warmth held in a single vessel. You stretch your legs out slightly, then draw them back in, adjusting position to conserve heat. Small movements like this become second nature. You feel your heartbeat slow, strong, and steady. Notice how safe your body feels right now. That safety is earned. The fire pops once, sending a brief spray of sparks upward. They fade quickly, harmless. Shadows dance across the walls again. Softer now. The shelter hums with quiet life breathing, shifting. The low murmur of wind outside. You take one last small taste of fat, then set the spoon aside carefully. Enough. Your body agrees. You wipe the spoon clean, not leaving residue to waste or attract pests. You settle deeper into your bedding, pulling layers snug. The warmth inside you pairs with the warmth around you, reinforcing each other, fat and fire working together. Winter still surrounds you, vast and patient. But within this circle of light, within your own steady breath, you are prepared. Fat has done its work. Your thoughts slow, your muscles relax. Hunger no longer interrupts your calm. And as the fire burns low, you feel confident not in conquest, but in continuity. This is how you last through the cold. You hear the sound before you see it. The clean, resonant crack of stone meeting bone. It echoes softly through the shelter, sharp but not startling, like punctuation in a long, quiet sentence. Bone marrow time has arrived, and everyone notices. You shift closer, drawn not by hunger exactly, but by understanding. Marrow is special. It always has been. In winter, it feels almost sacred. The bone rests on a flat stone near the fire, thick and pale, its surface smooth from careful cleaning. Another stone is lifted not heavy, not light, chosen precisely for this task. You watch as it comes down with practiced control. Crack. The bone splits neatly. Steam whispering into the cold air as warmth escapes from within. You inhale. The smell is subtle, but unmistakable, rich, warm, faintly sweet. It carries a promise your body recognizes instantly. You lean forward slightly, hands resting on your knees, feeling anticipation ripple through you without urgency. Marrow is fat's quiet cousin. softer, silkier, easier to digest, where dried meat demands effort and rendered fat demands restraint. Marrow offers immediate comfort. It is food that feels like reassurance. Someone passes you a split bone. You accept it carefully, fingers brushing its warm surface. The contrast between hot marrow and cool bone is striking. You tilt it gently and scoop the glossy interior with a slender piece of wood. The marrow clings, then slides free. You taste it slowly. It coats your tongue like velvet, melting instantly, spreading warmth in a way that feels almost intimate. There's no need to chew, no resistance, just a quiet surrender as your body welcomes it eagerly. Notice that reaction, that deep, instinctive approval. That's thousands of years speaking at once. Marrow is dense with calories, minerals, and fat-soluble nutrients your body craves when the cold won't let go. It feeds blood production. It supports immunity. It fills gaps left by limited winter diets. Early humans didn't know these words, but they knew the results. You feel them now. Your chest warms first, then your hands, then your feet. It's not dramatic. It's thorough. A spreading steadiness that settles into joints and muscles, easing stiffness you hadn't fully noticed until it softened. You take another small scoop, careful not to rush. Marrow rewards patience. Too fast and you miss its gentleness. Too much and you dull its effect. Balance again. Always balance. Nearby, someone chuckles softly, making a comment about marrow being winter's butter. The comparison fits. It enriches everything. It makes lean meals complete. It turns survival into something almost luxurious almost. You glance around the shelter. Faces glow in firelight, relaxed, attentive. This moment creates quiet unity. Marrow is often shared, not hoarded. Bones are cracked where everyone can see, reinforcing trust. Transparency matters when resources are precious. You feel that trust settle in you too. The fire crackles softly as another bone is opened. Crack, steam, warmth. The rhythm becomes comforting, predictable. Each sound reinforces the sense that tonight is handled, that tomorrow has been considered. You remember learning to extract marrow for the first time. Fingers clumsy, scoop too deep, drop a piece into the ash. Laughter followed, not cruel, instructive. Mistakes were allowed when lessons stuck. Now your movements are smooth. You tilt, scoop, taste, wipe clean. You even rub a trace of marrow into dry lips unconsciously, protecting them from cracking later. No part of this goes unused. Marrow also becomes broth. You watch as empty bones are placed into a pot near the fire, water added slowly. Heat coaxes remaining goodness out over time. The resulting liquid will be thin but powerful, carrying warmth into bodies that need it most. Bones give more than once. They are patient. Take a slow breath with me now. Feel that patience enter you. Let your shoulders soften. Outside, the wind howls briefly, louder than before. Snow hisses against the shelter walls. You glance toward the entrance, then back to the fire. The contrast feels sharper now, but reassuring. You are aware of the danger without being consumed by it. Marrow teaches this too. It teaches calm confidence. It reminds you that survival doesn't always require struggle. Sometimes it requires knowing where to look. You take one last taste, Then hand the bone back so it can join the pot. Your fingers linger a moment on the warm stone beside you, grounding yourself. Heat seeps into your palm slowly, deliberately. You notice how full you feel, not heavy, not bloated, supported, stabilized. Hunger doesn't disappear entirely in winter. It hums quietly in the background, a reminder to stay aware. But marrow lowers its volume, making space for rest. You settle back into your bedding, drawing layers closer. Fur brushes your cheek. It smells faintly animal, faintly smoky, deeply familiar. You exhale slowly. Someone nearby yawns. Another shifts position, careful not to disturb shared warmth. An animal sighs again, a low, contented sound that seems to vibrate through the floor. You listen to it all. Crackling fire, soft breathing, distant wind. Marrow has done its work. It has turned bones into calm. It has turned scarcity into sufficiency, at least for now. You feel a quiet gratitude, not dramatic, not performative, just present. You think briefly about the ingenuity behind this knowledge, how someone, long ago, noticed that broken bones meant warmer nights, how that noticing became tradition. You carry that tradition now, not as history, but as experience. Your eyelids grow heavier, muscles loosen further, thoughts slow to a gentle drift. The firelight blurs slightly at the edges as your focus softens. Winter remains outside, vast and cold, but inside you, warmth circulates steadily, fueled by marrow, memory, and shared wisdom. You are ready for rest. You wake just slightly, not fully, the way you do when the fire shifts or the wind changes its tone. The shelter is quieter now, deeper into night. The embers glow low and red, breathing slowly. Somewhere outside, the cold has tightened its grip, and instead of fearing it, you sense how it has been turned into an ally. The cold stores your food. You lie still for a moment, listening. Wind slides across the landscape with a dry, whispering sound. Snow creaks faintly under its own weight. The world outside is frozen solid, paused, and that pause is useful. You sit up carefully, wrapping your layers closer around your shoulders. Fur brushes your neck, soft and insulating. You move toward the edge of the shelter where the air feels cooler, sharper. This is where winter's work happens quietly, without fire or smoke. You lift the hanging flap just enough to peer out. Moonlight reflects off snow, pale and steady, turning the landscape into something almost unreal. The air bites immediately at exposed skin, clean and dry. You inhale cautiously. It smells like nothing. Pure cold. Preservation in its simplest form. You step just outside, feet sinking slightly into packed snow. Each movement is slow, deliberate. Cold punishes haste. You know this instinctively. Nearby, meat hangs suspended from wooden frames and tree branches, spaced carefully so air can move freely around each piece. The strips are stiff now, frozen hard, their surfaces matte and dry. They don't sway anymore. Winter has locked them in place. This is nature's freezer. No salt, no ice boxes, no machines, just cold, consistency, and attention. You reach out and touch one piece lightly. Your fingers tingle instantly from the cold, but the meat itself feels solid, reliable. Frozen meat doesn't rot. Bacteria slow to a crawl. Time stretches. Days become weeks. Weeks become months. You withdraw your hand and tuck it back into your layers quickly, rubbing warmth into your fingers. Small corrections like this keep you functional. Notice how calm this feels. Cold without panic. Control without force. You remember learning where to hang food. Not too close to the shelter animals would notice. Not too far, too much exposure. Not where the sun hits directly during short winter days, causing partial thawing. Consistency matters more than intensity. You glance upward. The sky is clear. Stars sharp and unmoving. Nights like this are perfect for storage. No moisture, no thaw, just steady, reliable cold. You move along the line of hanging food, checking spacing, inspecting surfaces. Frost crystals cling lightly to some pieces, glittering in moonlight. That's fine. Protective, even. What you don't want is softness. Softness means danger. Everything here is solid. You nod slightly, satisfied, and step back inside, sealing the shelter carefully behind you. The temperature difference is immediate. Warmth wraps around you again, gentler now by contrast. You exhale slowly. Inside, others sleep deeply, trusting the cold to do its job. You settle near the fire again, hands extended briefly toward the embers. Heat returns to your fingers, in stages first, a prickling, then a soothing spread. You flex them slowly, restoring circulation. Frozen storage changes the rhythm of eating. You don't cook everything at once. You take what you need, when you need it. A piece removed from the cold must be used carefully, thawed slowly near the fire. Never rushed. Refreezing is avoided if possible. Knowledge built on observation, not rules. You picture tomorrow. Someone will retrieve a strip of meat just before dawn, bringing it inside while the fire is rekindled. It will soften gradually, releasing its smell slowly into the shelter. That smell will wake people gently, promising warmth and fuel. Frozen food also changes your sense of time. You don't count days as much. You count conditions. Is the cold holding? Is the snow dry? Is the wind steady? The environment becomes your calendar. You trust it more than numbers. You lie back down, feeling the ground's cool firmness beneath layers of hide and straw. You adjust your bedding slightly, sealing gaps where heat could escape. These micro-actions happen without thought now. Winter living has rewired your instincts. Take a slow breath with me. Feel the contrast, cold remembered, warmth present. That contrast is comforting. You think briefly about how fragile this system could be if misunderstood. A sudden thaw, rain instead of snow, food ruined overnight. That's why vigilance never fully disappears. Even at rest, part of you listens. But tonight, conditions are right. The cold is dry, the sky is clear, the food is safe. You hear a soft scrape as someone adds a small piece of wood to the fire, careful not to overfeed it. Too much heat wastes fuel. Too little risks losing the embers. Balance again. Always balance. Frozen storage isn't just about meat. You think of berries sealed into snow-packed pits, their flavors locked in time, of roots buried beneath insulating layers of earth and straw, protected from freezing solid, of nuts stored where cold keeps insects away. Winter becomes a guardian when handled respectfully. You smile faintly at the irony. The same cold that threatens life also preserves it. Your body settles further into rest. Muscles soften. Breath deepens. The marrow and fat you ate earlier continue their quiet work, generating warmth from within. Outside, the cold maintains its steady watch, holding your future meals in suspension. You listen to the wind again. It sounds different now, not threatening, just present. A long, even exhale across the land. You imagine generations before you learning this same lesson. Someone noticing that meat left outside stayed good longer. Someone daring to trust the cold. Someone teaching others where to hang food, when to retrieve it, how to tell the difference between safe and spoiled by smell alone. That knowledge lives in your hands now, in the way you check spacing, in the way you seal the shelter, in the way you don't rush. You shift slightly, finding the most comfortable position. Fur warms quickly where it touches skin. You tuck your chin down, protecting your throat. Your body curls naturally, conserving heat. Outside, frozen food waits patiently. Inside, warmth circulates. The system is working. You let your eyes close fully now, trusting the cold to hold what you cannot eat yet, trusting yourself to remember how to use it. Winter stretches long, but tonight, it feels manageable. The embers pulse once more. The shelter sighs. The cold keeps watch. And you sleep, preserved in your own small pocket of warmth. You wake to the smell before anything else. Not fire exactly, something deeper, heavier, layered. Smoke. Not the sharp alarm of burning, but the slow, deliberate perfume of preservation. It wraps around your senses gently, pulling you from sleep without urgency. The shelter is dim. Dawn hasn't arrived yet, but the fire has been coaxed back to life, its embers glowing brighter now. Thin ribbons of smoke drift upward, curling lazily toward the roof, finding their way out through carefully planned gaps. This smoke is intentional, guided, trusted. Smoking is winter insurance. You sit up slowly, feeling the familiar stiffness ease as warmth meets marrow-fed muscles. You draw your layers tighter, then move toward the smoking rack near the fire. Wooden frames hold strips of meat and fish, arranged with precise spacing. Too close, and moisture gets trapped. Too far, and smoke thins too much. Everything here has a reason. You pause and inhale deeply. The smell is complex. Sweet wood, fat rendering slowly, old smoke layered over new. It clings to hair, skin, fur. Months from now, one whiff will bring this moment back instantly. Smell is memory's fastest path. You reach out, fingers hovering near a strip of meat. It's warm to the touch, not hot, not cold. The surface is drying, darkening, tightening. Smoke moves across it like a living thing, seeping into every fiber. Notice how patient this process is. No rushing, no shortcuts. Smoking doesn't cook food fully. It changes it. It drives out moisture slowly, replaces it with compounds that resist decay. It buys time. In winter, time is warmth. You adjust one strip slightly, rotating it so smoke reaches evenly. Your movements are careful, economical. Energy matters. You don't fidget. You don't overwork. Each motion earns its place. Someone nearby feeds the fire with a specific piece of wood, hard, aromatic, chosen deliberately. Not everything smokes well. Some woods add bitterness. Some burn too fast. The right wood smolders, producing thick, cool smoke that clings without scorching. You watch the fire closely. Flames are low. This is not about heat. It's about control. You kneel, adding a stone to guide airflow, redirecting smoke where it's needed most. Simple adjustments, profound effects. You feel the warmth on your face, the cool smoke on your cheeks, both at once. The contrast is grounding. Smoking also creates rhythm. You return to the rack regularly, turning pieces, checking texture, sniffing carefully. Smell tells you everything. Sweet is good. Sharp is bad. Sour means something went wrong. Your nose has learned this language over years of winter. You take a thin slice from a piece that's ready, still warm from smoke. You chew slowly. The flavor is intense concentrated meat, layered with wood and thyme. This will last. This will feed many. You nod slightly, satisfied. Fish smokes differently. You glance toward a separate rack, where thin fillets hang lighter, more delicate. They absorb smoke quickly, their surfaces tightening and glossing. Fish feeds faster than meat, quick energy, different nutrients. Variety matters, even in winter. Someone jokes quietly about smelling like smoke until spring. Soft laughter follows. No one minds. Smoke means safety. You rub your hands together, noticing how smoke has dried your skin slightly. Later, you'll counter that with fat. Everything balances something else. Take a slow breath with me now. Inhale smoke, exhale cold. You realize smoking does more than preserve food. It preserves morale. The smell itself reassures. It signals progress. It means you're actively pushing back against winter, not just enduring it. You sit back for a moment, resting against a warm stone. The stone holds heat from hours of careful tending. You feel it through your layers, steady and reliable. Your breathing slows naturally. Outside, the wind shifts, but inside, smoke keeps its steady dance. You think about how smoking allows flexibility. If the cold breaks unexpectedly, if thaw threatens frozen stores, smoked food remains safe. It travels well. It feeds hunters away from shelter. It becomes backup, contingency, resilience. You glance at the roof again, watching smoke escape slowly. The shelter has learned how to breathe. Too much smoke chokes. Too little spoils food. Balance again. You stand and stretch gently, feeling warmth flow easily through your body now. Fat and marrow have done their work. You feel capable, calm. Someone passes you a cup of warm liquid water infused with herbs, faintly minty, faintly pine. You sip slowly, letting it rinse smoke from your throat without erasing the scent entirely. You want to keep it. You look around the shelter. Food hangs safely. Fire behaves. People move with quiet confidence. Outside, winter waits. But inside, preparation continues. Smoking is slow, but winter is slower. You return to the rack one last time, adjusting a strip just enough to perfect its position. You step back, satisfied, and let the smoke do what it has always done. Preserve, protect, prepare. You settle near the fire again, ready for rest or work as needed. The smell of smoke wraps around you like an extra layer, settling into fabric, into memory. And as the day brightens just slightly beyond the shelter walls, you feel steady. Winter will be long, but so will your food. You feel the cold most clearly when you kneel. It seeps up through the ground, slow and insistent, pressing through layers of hide and wool until your knees ache faintly. This is where winter hides its secrets in the earth itself. Roots don't announce themselves. They wait. You pull your fur tighter around your shoulders and lean forward, hands braced against the frozen soil. The surface is hard, crusted, unwelcoming. Snow has been brushed aside, revealing earth dark and stubborn beneath. You breathe slowly, steadying yourself, then drive a digging stick down with controlled force. The ground resists. There's a dull thud, a vibration that travels up your arms. You pause, letting the shock fade, conserving energy. Winter teaches patience even in movement. You try again, angling the stick differently this time. The soil yields slightly, cracking with a muted sound. There, you feel it a subtle give that wasn't there before. You work methodically now, levering chunks of frozen earth aside, fingers numb but determined. The smell of soil rises faintly, rich and mineral, a reminder of life sleeping below. Steam escapes from your breath, drifting upward in small clouds that vanish quickly. Notice how focused your mind becomes. Cold sharpens attention. Discomfort narrows it further. Your fingers brush something firm, rounded. You clear the soil carefully, revealing a thick root gnarled, pale, scarred from pushing through stones and frost. It doesn't look inviting. It doesn't need to. It just needs to feed you. You pull steadily, rocking it free with a quiet grunt. The root breaks loose suddenly, sending you backward slightly. You catch yourself with a soft laugh under your breath. Even in winter, small victories feel good. You brush dirt from the root, inspecting it closely. No rot, no softness. Good. Roots survive freezing by storing energy underground, insulated by soil and snow. Carbohydrates rare and precious in winter, concentrated and waiting. You gather more, working slowly, efficiently. Parsnip-like shapes. Burdock. Wild carrots grown tough and bitter by cold. Not delicious by modern standards, but sustaining. Life-saving. Your hands sting now. You pause, tucking them under your arms, letting warmth return gradually. Rushing, numb fingers leads to mistakes. You've learned this. Take a slow breath with me. Feel warmth creep back into your hands. Let sensation return gently. Once circulation steadies, you bundle the roots together and rise carefully. Joints stiff but reliable. Each movement costs energy, and you weigh it instinctively against the reward. This harvest is worth it. Inside the shelter, the contrast is immediate. Warmth wraps around you as you step in, the smell of smoke and fat grounding you instantly. You set the roots near the fire, letting frozen soil flake off onto the stone floor. Someone nods in approval. Roots mean options. You squat and begin cleaning them carefully, scraping away remaining dirt with a stone blade. The sound is soft and rhythmic. Scrape. Turn. Scrape. The roots reveal pale interiors beneath dark skins, dense and solid. You cut one open and sniff. Earthy, slightly sweet, alive. Roots fill a gap nothing else quite can. They provide carbohydrates that fuel muscles and brains differently than fat alone. They prevent weakness. They stretch meat and fat further. They bring balance. You place chopped pieces into a pot suspended near the fire. Water added slowly. Heat applied gently. Time does the rest. Roots soften, releasing starch into the liquid, thickening it slightly. The smell changes less earth, more warmth. You stir occasionally, not constantly. Overstirring wastes energy and attention. You've learned to trust processes once they're set correctly. Nearby, someone adds a pinch of dried herbs, not for luxury, for digestion. Roots can be heavy, hard to process in cold bodies. Herbs help. Knowledge passed quietly, without explanation. You taste the broth once it's ready. It's mild, grounding, comforting in its own way. It doesn't excite the tongue. It steadies it. Combined with meat and fat, it completes a meal. Notice how your body responds. Not a rush, a settling. Roots also bring memory. You remember summers when these same plants were ignored, stepped over, considered filler. Winter changes perspective. Everything useful becomes valuable. Everything nourishing becomes worthy of attention. You lean back slightly, letting the warmth of the pot radiate into your face. Steam fogs your vision briefly, then clears. Your breathing deepens without effort. Outside, the cold presses harder now, but you feel buffered. Underground food has surfaced. Stored sunlight has been reclaimed. You think about how early humans learned to trust roots. Someone had to dig the first one in winter. Someone had to taste bitterness and decide it was acceptable. Someone had to survive long enough to say, "This works." That courage lives in your hands now. You adjust the fire slightly, ensuring the pot stays warm without boiling aggressively. Boiling wastes fuel and attention. Gentle heat extracts what you need without hurry. You sip again, feeling warmth spread outward, pairing with the fat and marrow already working inside you. The combination feels complete, balanced. Roots also change the texture of days. Meals last longer, stomachs stay satisfied longer, energy levels stabilize. Small comforts add up. You tuck leftover roots into a shallow pit near the shelter wall, insulated with straw and earth. Not frozen solid. Not warm enough to rot. Just right. Microclimate creation. Practiced and precise. You wipe your hands clean and rub a trace of fat into cracked skin again. Earth dries skin. Fat restores it. Balance again. You settle near the fire, bowl empty now. Body quietly content. Muscles relax. Thoughts slow. The shelter hums with low life breathing. Fire. Wind kept at bay. Outside. Winter remains vast and unyielding. Inside, roots anchor you to the ground beneath the snow, to resilience hidden just out of sight. You rest your hands on your stomach, feeling steady warmth. The earth has fed you again, and as the firelight softens and shadows stretch, you know this truth deep in your bones. Survival often depends on looking down, not out. You hear them before you see them. The faint, dry rattle of hard shells touching one another as a basket is moved. It's a small sound, almost insignificant. But in winter, It carries weight. Nuts have a voice here. They speak of patience, of foresight, of meals that don't panic. You shift closer as the basket is set down near the fire. It's woven tightly, suspended earlier from the rafters to keep rodents away and moisture out. Now it rests on the stone floor. Its contents revealed only when the covering is folded back. Inside acorns, hazelnuts, pine nuts, each one compact, unassuming, stubbornly intact. You reach in and pick one up, rolling it between your fingers. The shell is cool, dry, reassuringly solid. Nuts survive because they are built to wait. Winter respects that. You sit down and brace a stone between your knees. With another stone, you tap the nut gently, listening more than striking. Crack too hard and you shatter the kernel. Too soft and nothing happens. There's a sweet spot, and your hands remember it. Tap, rotate, tap again. The shell splits cleanly. You peel it away, revealing the pale interior. You bring it to your nose instinctively. It smells faintly sweet, faintly woody. No bitterness, no oil gone rancid. Good. You eat it slowly. The texture is firm, then creamy as you chew. The flavor is mild but satisfying, grounding. Nuts don't announce themselves loudly. They don't overwhelm. They endure. Notice how your body responds. A quiet approval, a sense of steadiness. Nuts are winter's insurance policy. They don't freeze easily. They don't spoil quickly if kept dry. They carry fat, protein, and just enough carbohydrates to stretch meals without stealing attention from more perishable foods. You crack another, then another, working rhythmically now. The sound becomes meditative. Tap, crack, peel, chew. Your breathing syncs with the motion, slowing naturally. Nearby, someone grinds nuts between stones, turning kernels into coarse meal. The grinding stone moves in steady circles, producing a soft, granular sound that blends with the fire's crackle. The smell changes subtly nutty, warm, faintly sweet. This meal will be mixed with fat later, pressed into dense cakes that travel well and last long. Food designed for winter movement, for hunting days, for emergencies when fires can't be lit. You glance toward the roof beams again, noticing how many baskets hang there, each carefully spaced. Nuts don't demand constant attention. They just need the right conditions: dry air, cool temperatures, protection from teeth and damp. Winter provides most of that naturally. You think back to autumn again, not with urgency this time, but appreciation. The hours spent gathering nuts were long and repetitive, shaking branches, bending to collect, sorting, drying. Your hands ached then too, but differently. That ache paid dividends now. You crack open an acorn next, inspecting it carefully. Acorns require respect. Some are bitter, loaded with tannins that must be leached away. You know which ones were prepared correctly, which were soaked and dried until safe. Knowledge layered on effort. You taste it. Nutty, slightly earthy, filling. It sits heavier in your mouth than the others, more serious somehow. Acorns are not casual food. They are survival food. You swallow slowly, feeling it settle. Take a slow breath with me now. Let your shoulders drop. Let the rhythm continue. Nuts change winter psychology. They remove desperation. When meat runs low, nuts fill gaps. When hunts fail, nuts keep bodies functioning. When energy dips, nuts provide quick support without drama. You notice how people eat them small handfuls, never large portions. Nuts are dense. Too many at once sit uncomfortably. Experience has taught moderation. Someone sprinkles crushed nuts into a pot of root stew, thickening it slightly, enriching it quietly. The smell deepens. The color darkens. No announcement is made. The improvement speaks for itself. You smile faintly at that. Nuts also store silence. They don't drip. They don't hiss. They don't demand fire. They wait patiently, month after month, asking only that you remember where you put them. In winter, that kind of reliability feels almost luxurious. You adjust your seating, moving closer to the fire. Heat reaches your knees again, pairing with the internal warmth from fat, marrow, roots, and now nuts. The combination feels complete, layered, intentional. You think about how nuts fed long journeys in the past, how early humans carried them across frozen landscapes, tucked into skin bags, eaten sparingly but gratefully. Portable warmth, portable patience. You crack a final hazelnut and chew slowly, savoring the way it softens with warmth from your mouth. You wipe your fingers clean, careful not to waste crumbs. Nearby, someone reties the rope holding the nut baskets, tightening it just enough. Rodents learn quickly. So do humans. Vigilance never sleeps entirely. Outside, the wind shifts again, but inside, the rhythm holds. You lean back against the shelter wall, feeling its cool solidity through layers of hide. The contrast feels good. You close your eyes briefly, listening to the sounds around you, the crackle of fire, the grind of stone, the soft murmur of voices. Nuts don't dominate winter meals, but they underpin them, quietly, reliably, like good infrastructure. You only notice them when they're missing. You open your eyes again and look at the basket, now slightly lighter, still heavy enough, still reassuring. You feel calm, fed, prepared. Winter continues outside, vast and unyielding. Inside, small hard shells have become warmth, steadiness, and time. You tuck your hands into your sleeves, conserving heat, and let the night carry on. Nuts will wait, and so will you. You catch the sweetness before you expect it. It arrives quietly, almost shyly, carried on warm air drifting near the fire. It doesn't belong to smoke or meat or roots. It's lighter than that. Brighter. A memory more than a meal. Berries. You open your eyes fully and turn your head toward the source. A small skin pouch rests open near the fire, its contents revealed carefully, almost ceremonially. Inside are shriveled shapes, dark reds, deep purples, near black blues. They look modest now, transformed by time and air, but you know what they carry. Summer folded small. You reach for one between thumb and finger. It's light, almost weightless. The surface is wrinkled, slightly tacky from concentrated sugars. You bring it closer, inhaling softly. Sweet, faintly sharp, alive. You place it on your tongue and let it sit there for a moment before biting. The flavor blooms slowly. First sweetness, then a gentle tang that wakes the back of your jaw. It's not loud. It doesn't overwhelm. It reminds, Notice what happens in your body. A subtle lift, a quiet spark. Dried berries don't provide many calories compared to fat or nuts, but they offer something just as valuable in winter contrast: vitamin-rich, mood-lifting, mentally refreshing. They interrupt monotony gently, preventing the kind of fatigue that settles deeper than hunger. You chew carefully, letting the berry soften, releasing more flavor as warmth returns to it. The taste feels almost shocking after days of savory, smoky foods. Not unpleasant, invigorating. You smile without realizing it. Nearby, someone chuckles softly, noticing the expression. There's a shared understanding here. Berries are treated with respect, not because they're essential, but because they're rare. A small handful can change the tone of an entire day. You take another, smaller this time, savoring it slowly. You don't rush. Rushing would cheapen the experience. Winter teaches you to stretch pleasure as carefully as calories. The berries were gathered months ago, under warm skies. You remember it clearly now, the sun on your shoulders, insects humming lazily, the smell of green everywhere. Fingers stained dark, laughter easy. It feels like another life. And yet, here it is, still useful, still present. Dried berries are memory made edible. You glance toward the shelter wall where several small pouches hang, each labeled not with words but with knots, beads, or markings only your group understands. Different berries, different purposes. Some are sweeter, some more medicinal, some reserved for illness, when appetite fades and strength needs coaxing back. You watch as a few berries are dropped into a pot of simmering water. The liquid darkens slowly, releasing a faintly sweet, tart aroma. Berry tea, not indulgent, restorative. You accept a small cup when it's offered, warming your hands around it first. The steam smells gentle, comforting. You sip slowly. The taste is subtle but unmistakable. It cuts through heaviness, clearing your palate, refreshing your senses. Your breathing deepens. Your thoughts feel a little lighter. Take a slow breath with me now. Inhale sweetness. Exhale heaviness. Berries also serve another quiet purpose. They remind you why survival matters, not just to continue breathing, but to remember color, contrast, pleasure. Without that reminder, winter becomes harder than it needs to be. You notice how berries are shared, never hoarded, never eaten alone. A few here, a few there, enough to lift spirits without exhausting supply. Generosity measured with wisdom. Someone tells a story now, prompted by the taste. A summer hunt. A ridiculous fall into a berry bush. Laughter bubbles up, brief and warm. The shelter brightens, not from firelight, but from memory. You feel your chest loosen slightly. This matters more than it seems. Winter is long. Minds tire before bodies do. Foods that nourish emotion as well as flesh become essential in ways no one formally names. You roll another berry between your fingers before eating it, appreciating its texture, wrinkled, toughened by air, concentrated by patience. You think about how carefully they were dried, spread on racks, protected from moisture, turned regularly. Too much sun would ruin them. Too little would rot them. Precision again. You eat it slowly, then stop. Enough. You let the flavor linger rather than chasing it with more. Satisfaction comes from restraint. You lean back against a stack of hides, feeling warmth settle comfortably around you. The fire hums. Outside, the wind presses, then relents. Snow shifts softly. You glance toward the entrance of the shelter, imagining the frozen landscape beyond, white, silent, deprived of color. And yet, in your mouth just moments ago, there was purple, red, blue. That contrast carries weight. You think about how early humans must have noticed the emotional effect of berries without naming it, how morale lifted after a few were eaten, how children smiled more, how elders spoke longer. Knowledge stored not in theory, but in habit. You sip the last of the berry tea, feeling warmth spread gently through your chest. The liquid is thin, but its effect is not. Someone ties the pouch closed again carefully, returning it to its place. Supplies are counted, respected, trusted. You rub your hands together, feeling warmth return to your fingers fully now. The earlier cold has retreated. Fat, marrow, roots, nuts, and now berries work together quietly, each supporting the others. You settle deeper into stillness. Notice how calm you feel. Not heavy, not restless, balanced. Berries don't fill you, they complete you. Outside, winter remains indifferent. Inside, you are reminded of abundance that once was and will be again. Seasons are cycles, not endings. Berries make that truth tangible. You close your eyes briefly, letting memory and warmth blend. The fire pops softly, punctuating the quiet. Someone stirs, then settles again. When you open your eyes, the shelter feels steady, contained, enough. The pouch of berries hangs quietly on the wall, waiting, not demanding, not forgotten. And you understand something deeply now. Survival isn't only about lasting through winter. It's about remembering why you do. You hear the ice before you see the water. A low, hollow sound travels upward as someone taps the frozen surface gently, listening more than striking. Ice speaks if you know how to hear it. It tells you where it's thick, where it's dangerous, where life still moves beneath. You pull your layers tighter and step closer to the opening in the shelter. Cold air slides in immediately, crisp and clean, filling your lungs with sharp clarity. Outside, the world is pale and still. The river transformed into a broad ribbon of white silence. Fish still live down there. They always do. You move carefully across the ice, feet placed deliberately, weight distributed slowly. Fur-lined boots soften each step, gripping without scraping. You keep your knees slightly bent, body relaxed. Tension wastes balance. Balance keeps you alive. You kneel near a darkened patch where ice was thinned earlier. The hole is small, just wide enough to work, surrounded by scraped snow piled neatly to one side. Steam rises faintly from the opening, ghost-like against the cold air. You lean in and peer down. Black water, slow movement, life, waiting. You pause, letting your eyes adjust. Fish beneath ice move differently slower, conserving energy, suspended in a colder, quieter world. That slowness makes them reachable, but never guaranteed. Winter fishing rewards patience, not force. You lower a simple line into the water. The fiber stiffened slightly by cold. No flashy bait, just something that smells right. Something familiar. Fish don't chase in winter. They investigate. You hold the line loosely, fingers sensitive, reading subtle changes in tension. Cold sharpens touch. Every vibration feels amplified. Take a slow breath with me. Feel the cold on your cheeks. Feel the stillness in your hands. Minutes pass, maybe more. Time stretches differently out here. There is no rush. Rushing cracks ice. Rushing scares fish. Rushing costs warmth. Then there, a soft tug, almost imaginary. You don't react immediately. You wait, allowing curiosity to settle on the other end. Another tug follows, firmer this time. You lift gently, steadily, guiding rather than pulling. The water breaks with a soft sound as the fish emerges, silver and dark, twisting briefly before going still. Steam curls around it as cold air meets wet skin. You cradle it carefully, respectful even in success. You smile not wide, not triumphant, just satisfied. Fish are winter lifelines. You return to the shelter with measured steps, keeping the fish close to your body so it doesn't freeze solid immediately. Inside, warmth greets you again, wrapping around your face and hands. The smell of smoke mixes with the clean scent of river water. You lay the fish on a stone slab near the fire. Its scales catch light briefly, then dull as frost begins to form. You work quickly now, but not hurried. There's a difference. A stone blade glides along its belly, precise and practiced. You clean it carefully, wasting nothing. Organs are set aside, some for broth, some for animals, some dried for later use. Fish gives generously if treated well. You rinse your hands in a small bowl of warmed water. Steam rising again. The sensation stings briefly, then soothes. You rub warmth back into your fingers, flexing them slowly. Notice how your body adapts. Cold outside, heat inside, constant adjustment. The fish is prepared simply. Too much handling ruins texture. You place it on a flat stone near the fire, not directly over flames. Gentle heat, controlled warmth. The skin tightens, releasing a clean, savory aroma that cuts through smoke and fat. You inhale deeply. Fresh fish smells different from everything else in winter. Lighter, cleaner. It reminds you that water still moves, even when land sleeps. You take a small piece once it's ready, careful of bones. The flesh flakes easily, steaming faintly. You taste it slowly. Soft, mild, bright. Fish provides quick energy, rich in nutrients that support joints, brains, and circulation. In winter, that matters. It complements heavier foods, preventing the sluggishness that can follow too much fat alone. You feel that balance immediately. Alertness without anxiety, warmth without heaviness. Someone adds fish scraps to a pot of broth, enriching it quietly. Another person sprinkles dried herbs over the cooking stone, just enough to enhance without overpowering. Everything here is understated, intentional. You sit back, bowl in hand, warming your palms before sipping. The broth tastes faintly of river and smoke, of stone and patience. It slides down easily, spreading warmth into places that need it most. Outside, the ice continues its quiet watch. sealing water and food beneath it. You respect it more now, not as an obstacle, but as a partner. Thick ice makes fishing possible. Thin ice demands caution. Knowledge lives in these distinctions. You remember earlier winters when ice fooled people, a crack too loud, a step too fast, stories told softly afterward, lessons woven into caution rather than fear. You carry those lessons now in the way you move. You glance toward the shelter entrance again, imagining the river beneath its frozen skin, fish drifting slowly, conserving energy, waiting. Not every day brings success. Some days bring only cold and patience. That's accepted. You wipe your hands clean and rub a trace of fat into your fingertips again, sealing in moisture. The smell lingers faintly. River, smoke, life. You settle near the fire once more. Fish warmth pairing with marrow warmth, fat warmth, root warmth. Layers of nourishment stack quietly, reinforcing each other. Take another slow breath. Feel how complete this meal feels. Not excessive. Enough. Fish under ice reminds you that winter doesn't kill life. It hides it, preserves it, slows it down until someone patient enough comes listening. You listen now not just with ears, but with hands, breath, memory. Outside, snow begins to fall again, soft and steady. Inside, the shelter hums with quiet satisfaction. Another method works. Another day holds. You lean back, eyelids heavy but mind clear, the taste of clean water still lingering on your tongue. Winter remains vast, but beneath it, life waits. You learn quickly in winter that survival favors the observant, not the strongest. Food does not always announce itself boldly. Sometimes it flutters. Sometimes it hides. Sometimes it appears only because you happen to look up at the right moment. You hear wings before you see them. A sudden rush of air breaks the stillness outside the shelter, followed by a scatter of soft sounds, feathers brushing snow, claws scraping bark. You lift your head instinctively, eyes alert but calm. Birds don't stop moving just because the world is frozen. They adapt too. You step quietly toward the shelter opening, careful not to disturb the fragile balance of warmth behind you. Cold slips in, sharp and bright. Outside, a few birds hop along the edge of the trees, dark shapes against white ground, small, alert, hungry. So are you. You don't rush. Opportunistic food is about timing, not pursuit. Birds in winter are wary. They know the season is dangerous. They watch everything. You crouch slightly, becoming smaller, less threatening. You breathe slowly, keeping steam from bursting out in obvious clouds. Your body remembers this posture, balanced, patient, ready. Someone beside you nods once, no words needed. A simple trap has already been set nearby, not aggressive, not elaborate, just clever. A loop of fiber, a balanced stick, bait made from crushed nuts and fat. Nothing flashy, just familiar smells, placed where birds already forage. You wait. Snow falls softly now, almost soundless. Time stretches again, thin and flexible. Your muscles stay loose. Tension would betray you. Then movement. One bird hops closer, curious. Another follows. They peck cautiously, heads tilting, eyes sharp. You don't move. The trap does what it was designed to do. Quietly and quickly. A flutter, a brief burst of sound, and then stillness. You approach gently, ending the bird's movement swiftly, respectfully. There is no celebration, no hesitation. Winter doesn't reward drama. You hold the bird in your hands for a moment. It's lighter than you expect, its feathers unbelievably soft against your fingers. Warmth lingers faintly. You feel a familiar mix of gratitude and responsibility settle into your chest. Small food matters. You bring it inside, shielding it from the cold wind. The shelter feels warmer now by contrast, wrapping around you again. Firelight flickers across feathers, revealing subtle patterns you might never notice in summer. Preparation is simple, efficient. Feathers are saved, nothing wasted. Tiny bones are set aside for broth. The bird itself is cleaned carefully, hands steady, movements economical. You notice the smell milder than mammal meat, lighter than fish, clean, familiar. Bird meat doesn't feed like fat or marrow. It feeds differently. Quick energy, variety. It breaks monotony, both physical and mental. You place it on a heated stone near the fire. The skin tightens almost immediately, releasing a faintly savory aroma that blends gently with smoke. You turn it once. That's enough. You taste a small piece. Tender, subtle, comforting. Notice how your body reacts. Not heavy, not sluggish, alert. Birds offer protein without burden. In winter, that matters. Too much heaviness slows you down. Too much lightness leaves you cold. Balance lives in variety. You share the meat without discussion. A bite here, a bite there. No one eats much. No one eats alone. The value isn't volume, it's opportunity. Someone chuckles softly, commenting on how even the birds seem to understand the season. Laughter moves through the shelter briefly, warming it more than the fire does. You wipe your hands and rub a trace of fat into your fingers again. Habit now, protection against cracking cold, survival knowledge turned instinct. Then you remember something else birds bring. Eggs. Not many, not often, but when found, they are treasured. You think of nests discovered earlier in the season, carefully noted and remembered. Winter eggs are rare, but some birds still lay when conditions allow. Finding one feels like uncovering a secret. You picture it clearly, a shallow nest tucked into reeds near unfrozen water, sheltered from wind. A single pale egg resting quietly, fragile and full of potential. When eggs are found, they are handled with reverence, eaten quickly, never wasted. Eggs provide fat, protein, vitamins compact nourishment when options are limited. You imagine cracking one carefully into a small pan near the fire, the yolk thick and golden even in dim light, cooked gently, shared immediately. No leftovers. The memory warms you. Birds teach flexibility. You don't plan on them. You notice them. You respond when the opportunity appears. Winter survival isn't rigid. It's responsive. You settle back near the fire, feeling the light meal settle comfortably. Outside, the remaining birds scatter, returning to their quiet work of surviving the day. You respect them for it. Take a slow breath with me now. Feel how alert you feel. Feel how steady. Opportunistic food sharpens awareness. It keeps you scanning the environment, connected to subtle changes. It prevents complacency. Winter punishes those who stop noticing. You glance around the shelter again. The systems are holding. Smoked meat hangs safely. Frozen stores wait outside. Roots rest beneath straw. Nuts hang patiently. Berries sleep in pouches. Fish bones simmer quietly. And now bird bones join them. Everything feeds something else. You feel a quiet satisfaction, not from fullness, but from responsiveness, from being present enough to accept what the day offered. Winter is not conquered by force. It's navigated by attention. You lean back against the shelter wall, feeling its solid support. The fire crackles softly, shadows stretching and folding. Someone stirs the broth gently, bones clicking softly against stone. Outside, snow continues its patient fall. Inside, you are warm enough, fed enough, aware. You close your eyes briefly, letting the sounds settle. Wings, wind, fire, breath. When you open them again, the day feels manageable. Not easy, not harsh, balanced. And you understand something deeply now. Survival favors those who notice small things and act gently, decisively, when they appear. You don't have a word for fermentation yet, not the way future people will. You don't talk about microbes or chemistry. But you know the feeling when food changes in a way that makes it safer, softer, more digestible. You know the smell that tells you something has gone right instead of wrong. Winter teaches this knowledge slowly. You notice it first in texture. A root that has sat buried in cool earth for weeks feels different now when you cut it open. Less rigid, slightly yielding. The bitterness has faded, replaced by something gentler. You don't question it. You trust your senses. You hold the root close to the firelight and examine it carefully. No mold, no rot, just time doing quiet work. You slice a thin piece and taste it cautiously. Milder, smoother, easier. Your body responds with relief rather than excitement. This food won't fight you. In winter, that matters. You set the rest aside, marking the container with a small notch so others know it's ready. Knowledge here is shared through signs and habits, not explanations. Fermentation happens whether you name it or not. You smell it next. Near the back of the shelter, a small clay-lined pit holds stored vegetables and berries sealed under layers of leaves, fat, and bark. When it's opened briefly, a sour, sweet scent escapes, not unpleasant, not sharp, alive. You inhale carefully. This smell tells you the food has transformed, not spoiled. It has become something new, something that lasts longer and asks less of your digestion. You scoop a small portion with a wooden spoon. The texture has changed softer, slightly slippery. You bring it to your mouth slowly, letting instinct guide you. The taste surprises you every time. Tangy, faintly salty, bright in a way winter rarely is. Notice what happens next. Your mouth waters. Your stomach relaxes. Fermented food wakes up systems that heavy winter meals sometimes lull. It helps your body extract more from less. It keeps digestion moving when cold tries to slow everything down. You eat only a little. Fermented food isn't meant to fill you. It's meant to help you use everything else better. You nod to yourself, satisfied. Time is doing work you don't have energy for. You think back to how this likely started not as innovation, but accident. Food buried too long. Water seeping in. Cold preventing rot but allowing change. Someone brave enough to taste it. someone patient enough to notice they felt better afterward. That bravery echoes now in small daily choices. You stir a pot near the fire where meat scraps and roots simmer slowly. Someone adds a spoonful of the fermented mixture. The smell changes subtly deeper, more complex. The broth thickens slightly, flavor rounding out. You taste it later and feel the difference immediately. The warmth spreads more evenly. The meal feels complete in a way that's hard to explain. Fermentation adds depth to winter. It also adds safety. Acidic foods keep longer. They resist decay. They stretch stores without attracting unwanted attention from smell alone. You glance toward the shelter entrance, thinking of animals drawn to rich scents. Fermented foods smell different, less like food, more like earth, less tempting to predators. Another quiet advantage. You sit back and rub your hands together, feeling warmth return to your fingers. The cold outside presses harder now, but inside, systems overlap and reinforce each other. Take a slow breath with me. Feel the tang linger in your mouth. Let it sharpen your senses. You notice how elders favor fermented foods more often. Their bodies appreciate the gentleness. Children are given only small tastes. Gradually, their reactions watched carefully. Knowledge here is observational, not theoretical. Someone tells a quiet story about a winter long ago when fresh food ran out early, but fermented stores carried people through. No drama, no heroics, just attention rewarded. You think about how fermentation blurs the line between raw and cooked. It's transformation without fire, preservation without freezing, change without effort. In winter, that feels almost magical. You lift a lid on another container briefly, checking the surface. A thin film has formed, not dangerous, just a sign of ongoing change. You skim it away carefully, leaving the rest undisturbed. Maintenance, not intervention. You wipe the spoon clean and set it aside, satisfied. Fermented food also changes the way nights feel. Meals settle more easily. Sleep comes sooner. Dreams feel calmer. You notice this without naming it. The way you notice when a shelter holds heat better than expected. You stretch your legs out and draw them back in again, adjusting position to conserve warmth. Your body feels lighter now, not weighed down by dense food alone. Outside, the wind hums low and steady, testing seams. Inside, the shelter holds. Smoke curls lazily upward. Someone adds a small piece of wood to the fire. Just enough. You sip warm liquid infused with herbs and a hint of fermented berries. The taste is complex, comforting. It warms your chest gently. Notice how steady your breathing feels now. That's not an accident. You think about how future people will rediscover this knowledge and give it names. They'll talk about cultures and probiotics and preservation techniques. But here, it's simply listening, watching, trusting patterns. You glance around at the food stores again: smoked meat, frozen cuts, roots, nuts, berries, fish. Fermented foods don't replace any of them. They support all of them. Winter survival is layered, not singular. You lean back against the shelter wall, eyes half-lidded. Firelight dances slowly. Shadows stretch and soften. The day's work feels complete enough. You place a hand on your stomach and feel calm warmth there. Not fullness, not emptiness. Balance. Fermentation doesn't announce itself loudly. It whispers. It works in the background, turning time into nourishment. You let that idea settle as you rest. Outside, winter remains vast and patient. Inside, time is on your side. You notice the herbs before you notice the cold easing. Their scent arrives quietly, drifting through the shelter in thin, comforting threads. It's subtle, easy to miss if you aren't paying attention. But you are paying attention. Winter has taught you to. Bundles hang from the rafters, tied with fiber, swaying almost imperceptibly in the rising warmth. Dried leaves, stems, flowers, each chosen carefully months ago, each gathered with purpose rather than decoration. Herbs are not luxury here. They are tools. You reach up and brush one bundle gently with your fingers. It releases a faint, familiar aroma, piney, sharp, clean. Your lungs feel clearer just noticing it. Another bundle smells softer, floral, calming, lavender, maybe, or something wild and local that serves the same purpose. You inhale slowly. Notice how your breath deepens. That's not imagination. That's chemistry meeting instinct. Herbs support winter survival in ways food alone cannot. They soothe digestion strained by heavy meals. They calm nerves tightened by long darkness. They warm blood. They encourage sleep when anxiety tries to keep watch. You untie a small bundle and carry it to the fire. The stems crackle softly as you break off a few pieces. You drop them into a pot of warm water. Not boiling, never boiling. Gentle heat coaxes out what you need without destroying it. Steam rises immediately, carrying scent into every corner of the shelter. The atmosphere shifts, shoulders lower. Breathing synchronizes. Someone nearby sighs softly without realizing it. You stir once, then leave it alone. Herbs demand patience. Too much interference ruins them. You sit back on your heels and rub warmth into your hands, feeling heat return gradually. The pot releases soft plumes of scented steam, filling the space between people with calm. You pour the infusion carefully into a wooden cup and wrap your hands around it. The cup is warm, smooth, grounding. You bring it close and inhale again before sipping. The taste is gentle, slightly bitter, slightly sweet, reassuring. You feel warmth spread not just through your chest, but into your limbs. Fingers loosen, jaw unclenches. Even your thoughts feel less sharp-edged. Take a slow breath with me now. Inhale the steam. Exhale the day. Herbs are used strategically. Minty leaves after heavy meals to ease digestion. Bitter roots when appetite fades. Floral scents at night to encourage rest. Pine needles for vitamin support when fresh plants are long gone. You think about how this knowledge was learned not through books, but through careful watching. Someone noticed which plants made bellies feel better, which calmed crying children, which helped elders sleep through cold nights. That attention lives on in habit. You glance toward the sleeping area. Small pouches of herbs are tucked near bedding, released slowly by body heat through the night. The scent becomes part of dreams, comfort layered into air itself. You pick up another bundle, this one smelling faintly earthy and warm. You crumble a pinch between your fingers and rub it lightly onto your wrists. The scent lingers, subtle but persistent. Herbs also protect. Some are burned lightly to discourage insects even in winter. Others mask food smells that might attract animals. Still others are rubbed into skin and fur, creating barriers against dryness and cracking. You notice how often fat and herbs work together, fat as a carrier, herbs as an active agent. Grease infused with plants becomes salve, protection, healing. You dip a finger into a small container and apply a thin layer to cracked skin near your knuckles. The texture is smooth, comforting. The scent rises softly. You massage it in slowly, feeling skin soften under your touch. Notice how caring for your body feels purposeful, not indulgent. That's winter wisdom. You return the herb bundles to their places, retying them carefully. Storage matters. Too much moisture ruins them. Too much heat steals their strength. Balance again. Outside, the wind hums steadily. But inside, the scent of herbs softens its edge. The shelter feels calmer now, quieter without becoming empty. Someone adds a few crushed leaves to the cooking pot. Not enough to flavor strongly, just enough to support digestion and warmth. The smell deepens, rounds out. You sip your infusion again, slower this time. The warmth lingers longer now. Your breathing settles into a comfortable rhythm. Muscles relax further. You think about how herbs shape night rituals, a warm drink before sleep, a scent near bedding, a moment of stillness before rest. These rituals anchor people when darkness stretches endlessly. Winter isn't survived on calories alone. It's survived on reassurance. You lean back against the shelter wall, eyes half closed. Firelight flickers gently, shadows less dramatic now. The herb steam continues to rise, thinning slowly as it does its work. Take another slow breath. Feel how steady your body feels. Feel how safe this moment is. Herbs remind you that survival includes the mind. Fear burns energy. Calm preserves it. Herbs help shift that balance gently. You think about how future generations will name these effects. They'll isolate compounds, measure dosages, argue mechanisms. Here, you simply notice results. You feel them now. Outside, winter presses on, vast and indifferent. Inside, small green remnants of summer soften its grip. Leaves and stems and flowers gathered long ago continue to serve. You tuck your hands into your sleeves again, conserving heat, and let your eyelids close briefly. The scent of herbs wraps around you like another layer, light but effective. When you open your eyes, the shelter feels ready for night. Herbs have done their work. And as the fire burns low and the world outside holds its breath, you feel calm enough to rest. You feel the heat before you see the stones glow. It rises slowly, patiently, as if the fire itself understands that rushing wastes energy. Cooking in winter is not about speed. It's about efficiency, endurance, and respect for materials that must last. Flat stones sit near the edge of the fire, darkened and smooth from years of use. They absorb warmth quietly, without complaint. You crouch and place your palm near one not touching, yet gauging temperature by instinct. Too hot and food burns. Too cool and fuel is wasted reheating. This stone is ready. You lift it carefully using thick cloth and place it into a shallow pit lined with earth and straw. Heat settles into the ground, spreading outward, creating a pocket of warmth that will last for hours. This is slow cooking without flame, heat stored and released gradually. Fire teaches patience, stone teaches memory. You arrange food around the stone meat scraps, roots, a bit of fat wrapped carefully in leaves. Nothing elaborate, just enough to soften, warm, and combine flavors. You cover it all, sealing the heat in. Then you wait. Waiting is part of cooking here. It conserves fuel. It frees attention for other tasks. It allows heat to do work while you rest or prepare something else. Winter cooking often happens in the background, like a steady heartbeat. You return to the fire and feed it a small piece of wood. Not much, just enough to keep embers alive. Flames leap briefly, then settle. You watch them with practiced calm. Cooking with stones changes the texture of food in ways fire alone cannot. Tough roots soften without scorching. Meat becomes tender without drying out. Fat melts slowly, coating everything gently. You uncover the pit after a while and inhale. The smell is deep and comforting, earthy from roots, savory from meat, rounded by fat. It smells like effort rewarded. Notice how your body responds. A quiet anticipation, not urgency, readiness. You take a small portion and taste it. Warm, soft, integrated. Flavors have blended without shouting. Everything feels easier to chew, easier to digest. Stone cooking respects winter bodies, already working hard to stay warm. You chew slowly, letting warmth spread. Your jaw relaxes. Your stomach settles. The food doesn't sit heavy. It settles in, doing its work without complaint. Someone nearby nods appreciatively. No praise needed. The method speaks for itself. Stone cooking also creates shared warmth. Stones placed along benches radiate heat into legs and backs. People sit near them instinctively, adjusting positions to capture warmth efficiently. You feel it now against your spine, a slow, steady heat that lingers even when you move away. Take a slow breath with me. Feel the warmth travel through you. Let it linger. You think about how early humans learned this, how someone noticed stones stayed warm long after the fire died, how that observation became practice, how practice became tradition. Cooking without constant fire matters in winter. Firewood is precious. Too much flame wastes fuel. Too little risks losing heat entirely. Stones become batteries, storing warmth safely. You watch as another stone is heated and placed beneath bedding, creating a warm sleeping area. Not hot. Just enough to prevent the cold ground from stealing heat all night. Microclimate creation, refined and reliable. You imagine lying down later, feeling that warmth beneath you, muscles loosening as sleep comes more easily. Rest matters as much as food. You return to the cooking pit and redistribute food, ensuring everyone receives a portion. Sharing remains instinctive, not enforced. A system that works doesn't need rules shouted aloud. You eat slowly, savoring texture rather than flavor alone. Winter meals are about feel warmth, softness, ease. Your body thanks you for it quietly. Stone cooking also frees your hands. While food warms, you mend a tear in fabric, fingers moving carefully. You adjust a hanging bundle. You rub herbs into salve. Cooking happens without demanding constant attention. Efficiency stacked on efficiency. Outside, the wind shifts again, testing walls. Inside, the stones hold steady. Heat radiates outward, unchanged by gusts. You glance at the fire. It's lower now, but the shelter remains warm. Stones have taken over some of the work. This balance feels satisfying. You think about how future kitchens will forget this lesson, relying entirely on constant flame or power. Here, you understand that storing heat is as important as creating it. You stretch your legs gently, feeling warmth still present. Joints feel cooperative. Muscles feel loose. Food and heat have aligned. You take another small bite, then stop. Enough. Overeating dulls awareness. Winter rewards clarity. You cover the pit again, leaving some food warm for later. Not everything must be eaten at once. Stones keep warmth without urgency. You settle back near the fire, listening to its soft crackle. Shadows dance lazily now, less dramatic than earlier. The shelter feels calm, contained. Take another slow breath. Feel how steady everything feels. Food, heat, body. Cooking with stones isn't impressive. It doesn't flare or hiss. It doesn't announce itself. It works quietly, consistently, like winter survival itself. You place a hand on a warm stone beside you and feel its steady heat. It doesn't rush to cool. It doesn't demand attention. It simply releases what it holds. You smile faintly at that. Outside, winter remains vast and cold. Inside, stones remember fire and share it patiently. You lean back, letting that warmth support you. The day feels complete enough. The night feels manageable. Stone, fire, food, and time have aligned again. You notice it most clearly when someone doesn't show up. Not in panic, not in alarm, just a quiet shift in attention. A pause where a presence should be. In winter, absence is information, and information is shared gently. You look around the shelter. Bodies are close together, arranged instinctively for warmth. Shoulders touch, knees brush, breath overlaps. Community here isn't sentimental, it's thermal. You shift slightly to make space, and someone slides closer without comment. Heat redistributes. No words, just physics and trust. Sharing keeps you alive. Food, warmth. Labor, none of it works well alone in winter. You learned that long before this season. It's reinforced now every time a meal is divided carefully. Every time a fire is fed by many hands. Every time someone notices another shivering and adjusts a layer without being asked. You glance toward the cooking area. Portions are modest but consistent. No one eats until everyone is present. Not because of rules, but because eating together aligns timing, digestion, morale. It keeps people watching each other. You take your bowl and sit among others, close enough to feel shared heat radiating. The food is familiar now, stone-warmed roots, meat softened by time, a trace of herbs. Nothing extravagant, everything intentional. You eat slowly, aware of how the group's rhythm influences yours. When others pause, you pause. When someone speaks, chewing slows. This synchronization conserves energy in subtle ways. Notice how calm this feels. That calm is collective. Someone notices a missing figure and quietly asks if anyone has seen them. A response comes easily. They're checking traps. They'll be back. The tension dissolves without drama. Winter teaches communication without excess. After the meal, bowls are scraped clean, not obsessively, just thoroughly. Scraps go where they're needed. Nothing is thrown without thought. Someone adds bones to the broth pot. Someone else wipes surfaces clean. Tasks distribute themselves naturally. You feel useful even when resting. Your presence adds warmth. Your attention adds safety. Even stillness has value here. You lean back slightly, supported by others' shoulders. The fire hums softly, steady and contained. Shadows stretch gently across walls. Less dramatic now. The shelter feels full, not crowded. Complete. You think about how early humans survived Ice Age winters, not because they were stronger or smarter individually, but because they clustered, shared heat, shared food, shared watchfulness. A single body loses heat quickly. Many bodies slow that loss together. You notice an animal shift nearby, a dog, perhaps, or something similar. It presses closer, curling into the group. Animals understand shared warmth without explanation. You adjust a fur slightly to include it. It sighs contentedly. This matters. Animals contribute warmth, alertness, companionship. They are not pets here. They are participants. Their presence raises temperature, lowers stress, sharpens hearing. You rest a hand briefly on its back, feeling steady breathing beneath thick fur. Another layer of insulation. Another life aligned with yours for mutual survival. Take a slow breath with me. Feel how your breath matches others. That synchronization saves energy. Someone begins mending clothing, fingers moving slowly. Another sharpens a tool, careful and quiet. These tasks happen in proximity, not isolation. Light and sound stay contained. Energy stays pooled. You think about how hoarding breaks systems like this, how one person pulling away weakens the whole. Winter punishes selfishness not morally, but mechanically. Heat lost here cannot be replaced easily. You feel grateful, not emotionally overwhelmed, just steady. You belong in this arrangement. It works. A child stirs, half asleep, and shifts closer to an adult without waking fully. An arm wraps around them automatically, pulling them in. Heat redistributes again. No words. You notice how safety here is physical before it is emotional. Warmth equals survival. Touch equals continuity. Outside, the wind rises briefly, rattling the shelter walls. Inside, bodies hold their positions. The sound passes without effect. You listen to the low murmur of voices, conversations soft and functional, plans discussed without urgency, tasks scheduled loosely around daylight and weather rather than clocks. You add a small piece of wood to the fire, careful not to overfeed it. Someone nods approvingly. Cooperation flows quietly. Sharing also includes knowledge. You overhear a reminder about where frozen meat hangs, which bundle of herbs was used last night, how many roots remain in a pit. Information circulates constantly, preventing surprises. Surprises cost energy. You adjust your layers again. Sealing warmth in. Others do the same. A collective micro-adjustment happens as the temperature shifts slightly. You're aware of it without thinking. Notice how responsive this feels. The group breathes like one organism. You rest your head back briefly, eyes half-lidded. The warmth around you deepens. Your muscles relax further, trusting that someone else is always partially awake, partially watching. Sleep in winter is shared responsibility. You think about how this would feel alone. The cold louder, the darkness heavier, the food harder to manage. You don't dwell on it. The comparison is enough. Sharing also stretches resources. A single person might starve with a small cache. A group can ration, rotate, compensate. Strengths overlap. Weaknesses are buffered. You notice how the earlier absence returns. The trap checker steps inside, bringing cold air briefly with them, then warmth again. They share what they found small success. Enough to add to stores. No boasting. No disappointment. You feel the system flex and hold. Take another slow breath. Feel how safe this moment feels. That safety is engineered. As the night deepens, people settle into sleeping positions that maximize warmth. Bodies align carefully. Fur is adjusted. Stones are placed under bedding. Animals curl tighter. You lie back, supported on all sides. Heat radiates from bodies, stones, fire. The shelter feels like a single warm pocket carved out of winter. Your breathing slows naturally, your thoughts quiet. You understand something deeply now. Survival in freezing winters is not about enduring alone. It's about aligning bodies, food, heat, attention into one shared system. And tonight, that system holds. You notice the shift before anyone names it. The work of the day has ended. The fire has been fed just enough, and the shelter settles into a softer rhythm. This is the hour when winter loosens its grip slightly, not because the cold leaves, but because ritual steps in. You lean closer to the fire, not to warm yourself urgently, but deliberately. This is comfort time. Someone stirs a pot that has been warming slowly for hours, not cooking anymore, holding. The liquid inside has thickened just enough to coat a spoon. It smells familiar now, layered with everything that has gone into it over the day. Meat, bones, roots, a pinch of nuts, a whisper of herbs, a spoon of fermented tang. Comfort food, winter style. You accept a small bowl and cradle it in both hands. The wood is warm, smooth, worn. You don't drink immediately. You let the heat soak into your fingers first, traveling up into your wrists, reminding your body it's safe to relax. Notice that moment. That pause is part of the ritual. You sip slowly. The taste isn't dramatic. It's cohesive. Everything belongs together. Nothing stands out because nothing needs to. This food doesn't demand attention, it supports it. It fills gaps quietly, reassuring your body that tonight is handled. You feel the warmth slide downward, spreading through your chest and into your belly. Muscles soften. Breath slows. Even the low-level alertness winter keeps humming fades slightly. Ritual food is about timing as much as ingredients. This meal happens at the same point every evening. After work, before sleep. The predictability matters. It tells your body what comes next. Darkness doesn't mean danger now. Darkness means rest. You glance around and notice how everyone eats this meal more slowly. Conversation quiets. Movements soften. Someone pokes the fire gently, then stops. The embers glow steadily, no longer flaring. Comfort lives in repetition. Someone adds a final touch to the pot, a few crushed berries, barely enough to sweeten. The scent lifts just slightly, brightening the air without breaking its calm. You smile faintly at the familiarity of the gesture. Winter comfort foods aren't indulgent. They're intentional. They exist to soothe nerves strained by cold and scarcity. They tell the body it doesn't have to stay tense tonight. You take another sip, then stop. You don't finish the bowl quickly. You let it cool gradually, drinking in stages. This stretches warmth, stretches calm. Take a slow breath with me now. Inhale steam. Exhale the day. Someone begins a quiet ritual near the sleeping area. Herbs are placed near bedding. A warmed stone is tucked beneath hides. Layers are adjusted carefully. These actions repeat every night, anchoring the mind. You notice how even animals recognize this time. They shift positions, curl tighter, settle in. Their breathing slows. The shelter grows quieter without becoming empty. Stories begin not dramatic ones, small ones, familiar ones, the kind that don't require attention so much as presence. A tale about a winter when the snow never stopped. A memory of a hunt that went strangely right. A humorous mistake that everyone remembers. Laughter rises softly, then fades. It doesn't disrupt calm. It deepens it. You feel your body responding to these cues. Your eyelids grow heavier. Muscles loosen. Hunger retreats fully now, replaced by a gentle warmth that feels earned. Comfort foods also prepare sleep. Heavy meals too late make sleep restless. Too little food makes sleep shallow. This balance warm, nourishing. Modest guides the body into rest naturally. You finish the last of the broth and set the bowl aside. Someone cleans it immediately, placing it back where it belongs. Order matters at night. Disorder creates unease. You stretch your legs gently, then draw them back in, finding the most efficient sleeping position. Curling conserves heat. Straightening wastes it. Your body knows this now without thinking. You pull a layer of fur higher, tucking it carefully under your chin. The texture is familiar, reassuring. It smells faintly of smoke and herbs and animal warmth. Notice how safe that smell feels. Someone dims the fire further, redistributing embers so they'll last through the night without flaring. Stones nearby continue releasing stored heat. The shelter hums quietly. You place a hand over your stomach and feel steady warmth there. Not fullness, not emptiness, completion. Ritual is a kind of insulation. It keeps fear from creeping in through the cracks. It keeps uncertainty from waking you in the night. It gives shape to darkness. You think about how these rituals likely formed slowly, through trial and error. Someone noticed people slept better after warm broth. Someone noticed herbs calmed dreams. Someone noticed predictable routines reduced night panic. Those observations became habits. Habits became tradition. You yawn softly, unembarrassed. Others follow suit. Sleep spreads contagiously, one relaxed body influencing the next. Take another slow breath. Feel how heavy your limbs feel now. That heaviness is rest arriving. Outside, the wind continues its long work. Snow shifts. Ice holds. Winter does not stop. But inside, you are buffered by ritual, warmth, and shared understanding. Your breathing evens out. Thoughts blur gently at the edges. The fire's glow softens into a steady, comforting pulse. Comfort food has done its job. Ritual has taken over. And as sleep approaches, you feel something deeply reassuring settle into you. Even in the harshest winters, humans learned not just how to survive, but how to be comfortable enough to rest. Your eyes close. The night holds. You wake before the fire needs attention, not because of noise, not because of cold, but because your body has learned winter's rhythm. Sleep ends softly here, guided by instinct rather than alarm. Your eyes open slowly. The shelter is dim, wrapped in blue-gray pre-dawn light. Embers glow faintly, steady and patient. Breath hangs briefly in the air before dissolving. Around you, others sleep deeply, bodies curled inward, conserving warmth. You lie still for a moment, listening. Wind moves across the land in a long exhale. Snow shifts somewhere above. An animal snorts softly in its sleep. Everything sounds muted, padded by cold. The world feels held in place. You notice how your body feels. Not hungry, not overly full. Balanced. Winter has changed you. Your metabolism has adapted quietly over weeks of repetition. Heavy meals earlier in the day, fat and marrow timed for night, lighter foods when movement is required. Your body no longer expects constant eating. Hunger arrives predictably now, not as panic, but as signal. You stretch one arm slowly, careful not to break the warmth pocket you share. Muscles respond without protest. Joints feel lubricated, cooperative. That wasn't always the case. Early winter mornings were stiffer, colder. Your body learned. Take a slow breath with me. Notice how steady it feels. That steadiness is adaptation. You sit up gradually and pull your layers closer. The fur beneath you is warm, having held heat all night. A stone tucked beneath bedding still releases faint warmth. The system worked. You glance toward the fire and add a small piece of wood, coaxing embers gently rather than startling them awake. Flames rise briefly, then settle. Heat begins to spread again. Your body anticipates what comes next. Morning food in winter isn't large, it's functional. Enough to restart warmth and movement. You reach for a small portion of nut fat paste prepared earlier, dense and reliable. You take a modest bite and chew slowly. Energy arrives gradually, not in a rush. Blood warms. Fingers feel more responsive. Thoughts sharpen without urgency. You remember summers when mornings began with fruit and lightness. Winter mornings begin with density and intention. Neither is better. Both are appropriate. You sip warm liquid water infused with herbs and a trace of broth. The warmth travels down easily, waking your core. You feel ready to move. As others begin to stir, the shelter shifts gently. People sit up. Layers are adjusted. Quiet greetings are exchanged. No one rushes. Rushing costs energy. You notice how everyone looks slightly different now than they did weeks ago. Faces leaner, movements more economical, eyes sharper, bodies adapted to scarcity and cold without collapsing into it. Winter reshapes physiology. Fat is metabolized more efficiently. Muscles prioritize endurance over speed. Appetite aligns with availability. Even sleep patterns shift deeper, more consolidated, less fragmented. You didn't decide any of this consciously. Your body learned through repetition, through listening. You stand and feel the ground beneath your feet cold but not shocking. Circulation responds quickly now. You pull on boots and step closer to the shelter entrance. Outside, the world is pale and quiet. Snow reflects early light, making everything glow softly. Cold air fills your lungs, sharp and clean. You exhale slowly, watching vapor rise and disappear. You feel capable. Not invincible, not careless, capable. You scan the landscape, noting subtle changes, snow depth, wind direction, ice quality. These observations guide decisions now more than hunger or desire. You think about how winter taught this skill too, reading the environment continuously. Food choices follow those readings. Fish when ice is stable, roots when ground allows, meat when stored supplies align, opportunism guided by awareness. You return inside and help prepare for the day. Tasks distribute naturally. Someone checks frozen stores. Someone else inspects traps. Another tends the fire. No one commands. The system runs on shared understanding. You feel satisfaction in this flow. Adaptation isn't dramatic. It's cumulative. You think back to the beginning of winter, when uncertainty felt heavier, when each meal required calculation, when your body hadn't yet learned how to stretch warmth through long nights. Now, there's confidence, not bravado, but trust. You trust your food systems. You trust your body. You trust your people. This trust changes everything. You eat another small bite, then stop. Enough. Your body agrees. Overeating would slow you. Undereating would weaken you. The balance point feels intuitive now. Take a slow breath with me. Feel how natural that balance feels. That's learning embodied. You watch as someone prepares to head out, checking layers, securing food for the journey. They carry smoked meat, nut cakes, maybe a bit of dried fish. Compact calories designed for movement. Winter food is portable by necessity. You remember earlier sections of this journey: autumn preparation, fat, marrow, roots, nuts, berries, fish, birds, fermentation, herbs, stone cooking, sharing, ritual. None of these stand alone. Together, they form a network. Your body is now part of that network. You stretch again, feeling strength in small movements. You aren't bulky. You aren't thin. You are adapted. Cold no longer feels like an enemy. It feels like a condition, one that shapes choices, but doesn't dominate them. You glance at your hands, skin roughened, knuckles protected by fat and salve. These hands know what to do now. They've learned textures, temperatures, timings. You help prepare a simple morning broth, stirring gently. The smell is familiar, reassuring. You taste it and feel warmth settle in your chest again. Outside, the sun lifts slightly higher, pale but present. Light reflects off snow, filling the shelter with soft brightness. The day begins without fanfare. You realize something quietly profound. Winter didn't just teach you what to eat. It taught you when, how, and why. It taught you restraint. It taught you awareness. It taught you trust in systems, in bodies, in time. You finish your preparations and pause for a moment, standing still near the fire. You feel warmth at your back, cold at your face, balance in between. That balance is the lesson. You are ready for the day. You feel it most clearly in the quiet moments, those pauses when nothing urgent needs doing, when food is stored, fire is stable, and the cold waits politely outside the walls. This is when understanding settles in, not as a thought, but as a feeling in your body. You have learned how humans endure, not through strength alone, not through clever tricks alone, but through layered intelligence, small decisions stacking into survival. You sit near the fire, its warmth steady against your back, and reflect without strain. Winter no longer feels like a test you might fail. It feels like a system you understand well enough to move within. You think about everything that carried you here. Autumn foresight, fat stored and shared, bones cracked open for marrow, cold turned into a pantry, smoke turned into time, roots pulled from stubborn earth, nuts waiting patiently, berries lifting spirits, fish moving under ice, birds taken when opportunity appeared, food softened by fermentation, herbs calming mind and body, stones remembering heat, people sharing warmth, ritual guiding rest. None of these things alone would be enough. Together, they form resilience. You notice how that word doesn't feel dramatic here. Resilience isn't heroism. It's repetition. It's consistency. It's noticing what works and doing it again tomorrow without complaint. You take a slow breath and feel how calm it is. Your body is no longer bracing against winter. It's cooperating with it. Notice that shift. That's adaptation complete. You glance at the shelter walls, at the careful construction, the small gaps designed to vent smoke but not heat. You think about how even the shelter itself is a lesson, how humans learned to shape space to hold warmth, not fight cold directly. The same is true of food. You didn't try to eat winter away. You shaped your diet to fit it, dense when needed, light when necessary, varied enough to keep body and mind flexible. You realize now that cavemen didn't survive winter the way modern stories frame it. They lived through it. They adapted their days, their meals, their expectations. Winter became a season, not a catastrophe. You think about the psychology of that shift, how fear drains energy, how calm preserves it, how predictable meals, familiar flavors, and shared rituals keep panic from taking root. Food here is emotional architecture. Warm broth says you're safe tonight. Fat says you'll stay warm. Sweet berries say summer existed and will return. Herbs say rest is allowed. You feel gratitude again, steady and grounded. Not gratitude toward winter, but toward human ingenuity. You run your fingers lightly across a stone near you, feeling its smoothness. Countless hands have touched it this way, heated it, moved it, trusted it. Knowledge embedded in objects, not words. You think about how much of this wisdom lives below conscious thought, how your hands now know how much fat to add, how your nose knows when food is safe, how your body knows when enough is enough. This is intelligence shaped by environment. You stand slowly and stretch, feeling strength in controlled movement. You are not weakened by winter. You are refined by it. Take a slow breath with me now. Feel your feet on the ground. Feel warmth behind you. Feel cool air ahead of you. That balance is humanity's sweet spot. You imagine explaining this to someone far in the future, someone surrounded by abundance, insulated from seasons. You realize words would fail. They would need to feel it, to live a winter slowly, attentively, cooperatively. Because resilience isn't stored in facts, it's stored in habits. You look around one last time. People move quietly, confidently. No rushing, no fear, just readiness. Winter hums in the background, no longer dominant. You understand now that food in freezing winters is not about eating more. It's about eating right for the body, right for the season, right for the group. You sit back down and let that realization settle fully. This knowledge didn't arrive suddenly. It accumulated, just like fat on bones, just like warmth in stone, just like trust in people. You smile faintly, feeling calm, capable, complete. Winter remains outside vast, patient, indifferent. Inside, humanity adapts. And that, you realize, is the quiet brilliance that carried our species forward. You don't need to think anymore now. Everything important has already settled into place. You lie back fully, letting the last warmth from the fire reach you without effort. The shelter feels quieter than before, not empty, just complete, like nothing else needs to happen tonight. Your breathing slows on its own, each inhale gentle, each exhale long and unforced. Notice how your body feels heavy in a good way, supported, held, at rest. The smells around you soften smoke, fading into something warm and familiar. Herbs lingering faintly in the air, fir and wood and stone blending into one calm, grounding scent. It's the smell of continuity, of nights that have ended safely, again and again. Outside, winter continues its work, but it no longer presses against you. Snow falls quietly. Ice holds. Wind passes over the shelter and moves on. None of it asks anything of you right now. Inside, warmth stays. Your muscles loosen further. Shoulders drop. Jaw unclenches. Hands relax where they rest. Even your thoughts slow, stretching out like embers glowing low at the end of a long fire. You don't need to review what you've learned. You don't need to remember details. Your body already knows. It knows how warmth is shared, how food becomes comfort, how patience turns into survival, how humans, quietly and cleverly, learned to belong even in the cold. If your mind drifts, let it drift. If images blur, let them blur. If sleep arrives, welcome it gently. Take one last slow breath with me, in through your nose, out through your mouth, longer on the way out. You are safe. You are warm enough. You have done enough for today. The fire dims, the night holds steady, and sleep comes easily now. Sweet dreams.